Hello everybody, it's Mark Keane here. We're here again at Microsoft in North Ryde with Stephane Budo. And we're here for another whiteboard demystifying video session or video, whatever you want to call it. And this time it's for the Azure Firewall. Hey Steph.
Hey Mark.
And just quickly, we're joined by the new guy, Sid. Sid's our colleague here at Microsoft, another CSA. So Steph, all right, we're here to talk about the Azure Firewall.
Azure Firewall.
Go for it.
Fantastic. So just a quick, what happened in the past, basically, you had to, in Azure, if you want any sort of advanced security, you would have had to deploy an NVAS network virtual appliance.
This is prior to the Azure Firewall?
That's exactly right. So that would be deployed on an IaaS platform, you know, a couple of virtual machines, you get your favorite provider as a firewall in there, and that would basically be your security.
Yep. Which comes with all sorts of challenges around IaaS that typically are.
That's right.
Management, etc.
Management, costs, OS, you got to update your OS.
Okay.
Loads of complications. So Microsoft thought, well, hang on, there's a better way to do this, which is Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall is effectively a stateful firewall as a service.
Yep.
No IaaS needed. That's right. Firewall service as a service. It's all managed. It's all managed and part of the Azure platform. Easy to configure. Easy to configure. You can use your existing tooling. So all your knowledge about the Azure portal, PowerShell, CLI, that's all applicable. So you can use all these PowerShell, including automation. So automation is right there, is built in because you're using PowerShell and CLI. Fantastic.
So it's pretty much exponential scale on this thing.
That's exactly right, because it's based on the Azure Platform Cloud. It's scalable. So you scale to whatever you want.
Yep.
You know, it's the cloud. It's beautiful. In terms of availability, it's highly available, of course. By default, 99.95% SLA, but you can increase that to 99.99% if you are using availability zone within Azure. When you deploy, you just select the zone, done. You got 99.99%. Lots of nines.
So what does it cover as far as layers go?
So in terms of features, layers 3 to 7. So you can protect anything from an IP to ports to all the way to FQDN filtering for your application. So if you don't want people to go to whatever websites you don't want them to go to, you can configure that as part of the platform. You got outbound SNAT and inbound DNAT.
So hang on, so outbound is that way?
Outbound is this way.
Yeah.
Inbound is that way.
Yeah, cool.
That's right. Up to 100 public IP addresses you can define on this baby.
And only, who has that many IP addresses, Sid?
Me.
Microsoft.
You integrate with all your Azure services, but the main one would be Azure Monitor. So you can ship all your logs to Azure Monitor, create some great monitoring on this. This is all integrated as part of the platform, including service endpoints, including application gateways, etc., etc. It's fantastic. ATP, Azure Threat Protection, Advanced Threat Protection.
There's a tongue twister.
Oh no, ATP.
Say that 5 times fast.
No, not 5. We don't have the time for 5 times. All right, so ATP. So if anyone out there, the bad guys trying to get in, ATP will, nip it in the butt.
Bad guy trying to get in to break into a building.
Right. You don't want the
physically or virtually.
Bad guys out. That's right. Both physically and virtually. So we get all the information from Advanced Threat Protection back into Azure Firewall to make sure that security is high. It's also PCI and SOC and ISO compliant, so you got all the certification. Now, very quick rundown on the architecture recommended.
Yes.
Hub and spoke, or transit network, as other people like to call it. So you create a VNet, put your firewall inside of that VNet, then start peering to all your other VNets with all your production or test workloads.
So this VNet could be distributed application X, distributed application Y, for example.
Like SAP could be in there, another one could be out there.
And then you can send all the traffic via this person here, this firewall.
The idea is to funnel all your traffic through this VNet using peering and UDRs.
And these two VNets can be spread across multiple geos.
Multiple geos, that's right. Yep. So separate VNets, separate subscriptions, all good, and your firewall becomes a central point to access the internet, but also potentially to filter traffic going back to on-premises using ExpressRoute.
So basically, the way it's being presented as is the traditional on-prem firewall now running in cloud.
That's exactly right. So it's a traditional firewall, but as a service now as part of the Azure platform.
And it's got all the intelligence that Microsoft has with their massive public cloud, all the information that they get from
That's exactly right. So
malicious IP addresses.
That's exactly right.
Anonymous.
This is where ATP comes into play. So if a malicious IP address try to hack into somewhere else in the part of the world, they get distributed all around the Microsoft Azure network. It's straight into your firewall and you protect it instantly. How good is that? I know.
Awesome.
I know.
I'm going to deploy one today.
I know. Do it.
Right now.
Do it.
All right, so we found out all about the Azure Firewall and what it has to offer and the benefits and the features, but we need some examples. Guys, tell us.
Okay, all right. So very first use case, and we see this very commonly, is the way traditional on-prem firewall is implemented along with Azure. Now, we typically see a hybrid scenario wherein you have some real estate on-prem and then you're also extending your data center in cloud.
That's right.
But you're still leveraging your on-prem firewall to do the most of the massive filtering stuff.
Yeah.
So what that means is, one of the common implementation is that you implement Azure Firewall, you implement Firewall on-prem, and then you force tunnel your traffic back on-prem to go out, which is what typically we see happening.
That's right.
Now, because Azure Firewall is a cloud-native firewall, you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. You can do the forced tunneling, or you can avoid the forced tunneling, and basically tunnel the traffic out directly from the firewall to the internet and avoid hopping back to on-prem and basically saving costs there.
That's exactly right. Another common thing that we see at customers is if you are using NVAS today, network virtual appliances, once you start to scale that, we see people are starting to struggle to manage the scalability and the management itself of those NVAs. So using a cloud native firewall as a service within Azure Firewall becomes a really interesting, and that becomes a lot easier to manage and to scale because it's part of the cloud platform.
Absolutely. And just to carry on your point, you mentioned scalability. Now, the integration of a cloud-native firewall fits very well into the modern infrastructure that we see today, which is automation, CI/CD, pipelines, etc., etc. Because this is a cloud-native firewall, you can really easily build your application and integrate them into the firewall itself, rather than doing the complex change management process that you typically do on an on-prem infrastructure, which delays a lot of a lot of projects.
And use Azure DevOps to even manage it at scale.
So guys, there you have some use cases that we see commonly in the field for Azure Firewall. Let us know what you think.
Guys, thanks very much for that. Perfect.
Thanks, Mark. Whereby you can centrally manage all your firewalls into one place.
That's helpful.
That's helpful.
Because you can have multiple Azure firewalls across the globe.
That's exactly right.
Let's face it, we do have more regions than everybody else combined.
Exactly, and everybody wants to centralize these days, so one security team can manage all your firewalls into one place. How good is that? Again,
54
fantastic.
regions. You could potentially have 2 firewalls per region. That's 54 times 2, which is 108. 108.
54 times 2. So it was 52 for some reason. Cut it
That's a lot,
please.
That's a lot of Azure firewalls.
That's a lot of firewalls, indeed.